That's the cool. That's the um, that's the new term. You know, I think the DSM-5 calls it that. Or I like to say my relationship with alcohol is complicated. Anyway, I definitely belong here, and I feel comfortable here. It wasn't always the case, but I'll start off with a bit of the what it was like. And I was born in L.A. Lived there for about 5 years. My parents were from Buffalo and Ontario, near Hamilton, and so they went out there, I guess, to I don't know, live their dreams or whatever. I was adopted at about 2 days of age. My sister was adopted a year and a half after me, also a couple days old. Anyway, what I recall, early memories, being in kindergarten and having, I was very shy. And I think I have a memory of them calling me Mr. Nobody, you know, the kids in school. And I, I know that my dad was sort of, I'd call him I guess a rageaholic. I don't know. Really, I'm not a, I'm not a professional, but I'll say that I think that he lived in fear, and he didn't know how to deal with emotions and stuff like that. Which, fuck, it's about 80% of the planet. So, I think I only got spanked a handful of times. So I didn't have an upbringing that was really that abusive, aside from maybe emotionally, in the sense of, there was anger, and I was walking on eggshells. If anyone knows about codependency, or, well, a lot of other things that are similar to it, where you know about the walking on eggshells, feeling around somebody, not knowing whether they're going to come home from work angry or not, and whether you need to adjust, etc. So I actually developed quite an awesome set of coping skills. And going through school, I had I think, if you know anything about the sort of child order model of, the first child's the hero, the second's the scapegoat, third is the lost child, and fourth is the jester, I think. And, I think there's a bit of truth to that, but I also believe that those are just four different personas that are common that people can sort of get. They pick one to sort of get their way or prevent certain things or feelings from happening or whatever, right? And I know nobody knows what I'm talking about. So I was the hero child, but I also, delved into some of the other ones. And comedy was a thing, So I found that if I did some comedy, I could get some friends. But I was still painfully shy. And it wasn't until I think I got into high school I started partying after everybody else that I know of. And because I wanted to be a good boy, I wanted to do the right thing. And I I started partying later than everyone else. Even my sister started younger than me. But eventually, one day, I think it was that my dad pissed me off or something like that. And I basically said, well, fuck him. And I went over to the dark side. So I was at my cousin's house and they were smoking dope. And I finally said, okay, I'll do it. I mean, I used to hang out with them and like not do it. And, that was okay with them. It was okay with me. But I went to the dark side. And the feeling, the key in the door, what it unlocked for me, everything was okay. So, the dopamines, if you've ever read any of the Gabor Mate stuff about connection, and the the necessity of that or the helpfulness of that, great stuff. And I think that was kind of what was going on, was that the dopamines were flowing. All of a sudden, I felt like, okay, this is normal now. I can live my life, and I don't have to be afraid or whatever. So like a lot of things that I did, with like collecting comic books or collecting beer cans or whatever, and I think I may be somewhere on the autism spectrum, high functioning perhaps, maybe ADD. I don't know, not enough to warrant a definite diagnosis, but I think just a little of this, a little of that. I think a lot of us are a little of this, a little of that. You know, I could look at the DSM-5 and fucking have a field day with all the shit that I am, right? But anyway, it's just a bunch of models, right? So I I took to dope like a duck to water, man. It was, you know, and then I was turning my friends onto it because that's what you do, right? This is some great shit. Let's turn our friends onto it. And I wasn't into drinking, you know, but within a year, you know, the drinking was there. We're going out, we're partying, and they're drinking the beers and all that. Then that was happening. And even early on, I was in a blackout. I was chasing girls around the car, taking a piss in the ditch with 3 feet of water in the ditch, and me in the ditch, you know, just, you know, stuff like that, and not remembering any of, you know, the whole thing of like calling the friends and say, hey, you know, hey, what's going on, Gerald? Hey, what's up, man? You know, hey, man, did you remember what happened last weekend? No, do tell. You know, that happened a bunch. Not going to a party and they won't let me in. And I don't fucking know why. I can't remember. And they looking at me like, you should remember. Don't you remember? You know, I'm like, I have no fucking clue. So a lot of that. And within the first year and a half, I think, and I was in high school, and I OD'd on alcohol. I mean, I started with a pint of some stuff my mom brought back from Poland. I mixed it with fucking Country Time lemonade. Sat in the back of the bus, drinking it, and then there was a pint later in the day, and then another pint later on in the day. And there was also some extra strength dexatrim, some dope, some opium, and a bunch of acid. And so I ended up in the hospital, and you know, folks were saying like, you know, go ask Glazer when he's 10 feet tall, you know, like the Jefferson Airplane song, you know, about Alice. And I swore I wouldn't drink again. I had learned my lesson. And like the next weekend there was a party, you know, and I'm like, not drinking, you know, but I thought, a little bit of dope, no harm. And after that I was sort of like, well, might as well drink. It was just that simple. So I know myself real well in that respect. Anyway, so moving forward, 80, 81, 82, I went to college. My grades in high school, you know how like you don't take a nap after school and then you become a dope smoker and then you do take naps after school? That's what I did anyway. That was what I did. And distancing myself from my family and stuff like that. My grades started slipping, you know, all the classic stuff. They were good enough from where they started that, you know, I still got into a decent college. My first year, my first semester, 0.75. They said if I didn't get a 2, I would not be coming back. So my second semester, I brought it up to a 1.9. And I remember my mom said, you know, Mike, it's like we took, I can't remember how many thousands of dollars it was. It's like we went in the middle of the street and we just threw it up in the air, you know? And so if I was going to college again, it would be to the state school, the local one, you know, in University of Buffalo. So, which I did, semester on, semester off. Took mostly basket weaving type courses, like the Gospel According to Zen and communications and stuff like that. And I ended up having, and music courses, I ended up having all A's and incompletes that later turned into F's. So one time I had A's that were, you know, I convinced my parents, this is in 84, I was 21. I was hanging out with this girl named Sarah, the guitar player, and we were playing guitar. And she had gone to Israel. And so, you know, I was brought up Jewish. So, you know, you go to Israel sometimes, you know. So I thought, okay. 6 months, I went there. I was going to be on a kibbutz, and it ended up that that I never made it to the kibbutz because I found the old city of Jerusalem, and I just thought, this is wild. This is like, and in a second, I should rename myself. There we go. This is awesome. This is like where all the major religions are, and so I hung out there, and I mainly drank, and I did about 5 years worth of drinking, and that was actually after I went to my first AA meeting. I went to my first AA meeting when I was 20 or 21, and it was before I went to Israel, but I had lost a job, and a friend said, "Why don't you go to an AA meeting?" And my mom took me, and I was like, okay. It was in a VA hospital in Buffalo, and I saw, they had a pamphlet and about the disease. I'm like, oh, okay, and we all went to like like a Denny's or something afterwards, and it was kind of nice, and I sort of felt a part of, but not really, and anyway, I don't think I went to too many meetings after that. Went to Israel. That was 6 months. Went back to school off and on and all that. Eventually, I got to a point where nothing was happening. There was nothing that I couldn't hold on to a job or a woman or anything like that. So I decided to join the Navy. I joined the Navy when I was like 24, 23. Yeah. I was in for 9 months, and I got kicked out of the Navy for drinking. While I was in the Navy, I got shot. That was a pretty interesting experience. And it happened on Thanksgiving Eve, which, was just the other day. And it was interesting because during the times, I'd always wondered about, if there's a God, if there's not, and if there is, I wanted to, do the right thing, right? But what's the right religion? I mean, there's so many different flavors, that was kind of my thing. It didn't make sense to me. And I thought it was pretty much made up shit. And I mean, I had taken courses on mythology and all that, and, it's made up shit. But I thought, I don't know, fucking at that time, maybe 5 out of 6 billion people on the planet believe in that shit. I mean, either there's something to it and I'm missing it, or they're all fucking nuts. I have no idea which. So I thought that the irony of getting shot on Thanksgiving Eve and still being around, I thought that was a pretty cool irony. And if I wanted to attribute that, which I didn't necessarily at the time, later on I did, and I don't now, but I thought it might have been a step along my spiritual path of, like, maybe there's someone looking out for me. And another example of that was in Israel when I had my guitar stolen, and because I thought it was divinely protected. I was kind of into one of those sort of new age type things where it's like, you think it and it's real, and like it wasn't fucking protected. Some asshole stole it, and then so I made jewelry and made some money. But that day, which happened to be my birthday, in Israel, I was hanging out with this gal, and she was working. I went to downtown Tel Aviv to try and sell jewelry. Nothing doing, man. It was my fucking birthday and nothing doing. And then I came back. I missed the bus stop, and then I'm walking. This lady who gets off at the same bus stop, she says, "Hey, can you help me with my groceries?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And she says, "No. I mean, could you take a couple of bags? I have too many bags to take home." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." And there's like food in these bags, bread and milk and cucumbers and stuff like that, And so at the time, because I was in Israel, and I had a friend who was a Jewish guy who was he was into Jesus, and there were people who were into Jesus who were proselytizing to me. And so I thought, this is interesting. And I used to get picked up hitchhiking by folks doing the same thing, and they would give me John 3:16, for he so loved the world, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. Doesn't make sense. My people, the Jews, we talk to the CEO, right? What's this middle management? I didn't get it. Didn't make any fucking sense to me. So Anyway, they tried. So the reason why I mention all that is because, well, you'll see. Anyway, so I was a seeker. I was trying all these things, comparative religious studies and all that kind of thing. And so the irony of getting shot, I thought it was just another step on the way of, someone looking out for me, And it's interesting because, it depends on how you want to look at it, but that whole someone looking out for me, a lot of shit falls through the cracks. I'll just say that. Okay. So, after getting out of the Navy, and when I was in the Navy, I was on antabuse because I got in a bunch of alcohol-related incidents, and they said, you're going to do antabuse, blah blah blah. We'll go to AA meetings. I remember going to a Halloween AA party. I'm just feeling so fucking depressed. These people were having fun, and I was fucking miserable, and it was it was shit. And I was trying to get into it, but I couldn't get into it. I was just sad. And so anyway, I got another alcohol-related incident after I got shot, and got, other than honorable administrative discharge, because they said, you could stay in if you wanted to. And I said, nah, I'm good. I learned what I needed to, got a little bit of discipline. This is good. Okay. So went back to my folks' house. They were in Virginia Beach at this point in time. And that's a Navy town. So I was there and went to AA, got in about 90 days maybe, met this gal on the phone. I was a telemarketer, and we went on a date, and then we lived together and stuff like that. And I couldn't be with a woman and not drink, so that was what was going on. And then she kicked my ass out. And and that was when I was so fucking depressed. I was at a point, and this is how it works, this is, you have to get to this point. Then I said, okay, back to AA. I know where to go. And this time, I wasn't doing it on a peripheral sort of way. I was doing it all in. I immersed myself in the program. I went back to the Virginia Beach group, the home group that I was in. I met a bunch of different people. I hung out with, there's a place that was sort of like a clubhouse kind of a deal. Side Door in Virginia Beach. They had a shit ton of meetings all day long. And it was cool and fun just going there and hitting meeting after meeting and hanging out in between the meetings. And I was young and single and living with my fucking parents at 25 or whatever, but I was kind of healing, the steps. I started doing the steps. And I also thought, it's like, they say you gotta get a higher power and all that, right? So here's what happened. There was a time about 3 weeks in, and I was in an emotional whirlwind, and I just couldn't concentrate on my telemarketing job. So I went outside, had a cigarette, and I was like, there's a God. Please take away my compulsion to drink, And I felt like there was a good mic and a bad mic. And it felt like the good mic was like a little flame that I was on a mountaintop, and it was fucking windy, and I was protecting this flame, the good mic. And I was afraid that if I didn't get my shit together and really commit this time, that flame might blow out and no more good mic, just bad mic. And that fucking scared the shit out of me, It may have nothing to do with reality, but it scared the shit out of me. So I'm like, I made that sort of prayer in the way that, how a lot of people pray where they say, if you do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, or whatever. And for me, it was sort of like, I don't care if I never get laid. I don't care if I don't play guitar. I don't care who I'm going to be after this is all over. Because I thought, I can't be anyone interesting. I couldn't be anyone fun. I thought I was sort of like the next Dylan / Lennon, So I was that desperate. And within a few weeks, I noticed, the not drinking wasn't a chore. It wasn't a daily chore. The compulsion that it was dissipating, and I guess it wasn't there, and it never really came back. And so at that time, I attributed it to that higher power, that God that I wasn't sure if I was there or not, you know. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do this thing, this sort of kindergarten, you know, AA God thing, you know. But I was sort of a Judeo-Christian, you know, type of deal, right? What I attribute it to now is that I was at a point of desperation. That there was an inward movement within me, you know, and it's just that simple. Now, I have no idea what it is, but that's what I attribute it to. And it doesn't really fucking matter. Because if I was to go along with that first attribution and the framework and all that kind of thing, fucking, you know, roses and rainbows. If I was to do it the way that I look at it now, I'm sure it wouldn't have been really any different, you know. I did it the way I did it. I did it the way that it worked for me at the time. And I think that my level of desperation was such that I was all in. And then I was reading the history books. I was going to a lot of meetings. I got a sponsor. I did the steps. And at the time, what was going on was the Joe and Charlie tapes. Did that stuff. It was cool. I was studying it, you know. My big book's got a lot of shit underlined and written in and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of stuff about the ego and a lot of stuff about, you know, God's will and all that kind of thing. And I was all in. And also codependency, you know. Here's what happened. This is what's funny is about a year in, and I've heard people say this, that like, and it might be bullshit, but it was kind of true for me. For every year you drank, which for me was about maybe, I don't know, 10 or something, it takes a month for the anesthetic to wear off, you know. I mean, I'm sure that that's malleable, but, and then all of a sudden you start to feel. And I was like, okay, that's exactly what the fuck happened to me. All of a sudden, I had a bunch of feelings. I couldn't name them. I had no idea what to do with them. And, you know, so I went to where my sponsor and his sponsor went to, which was a place in Montreal where they work on codependency and alcoholism and addiction and goofiness of various sorts, 12-step oriented, new age type oriented. And I was eating all that stuff up anyway. All the stuff that the founders were reading, you know, all that, everything from Oxford group stuff to Emmett Fox to all that stuff. And then when I got into the codependency stuff and reading Bradshaw and reading all this stuff and Melody Beatty, and going to CODA meetings and then working on setting boundaries and all this kind of stuff, it was great. It was my program was Boost Charge, you know. I met a gal, and we were friends. We started out as friends because I wasn't attracted to her, and I thought I can practice being a friend to a woman, because before it was like either I wanted you or I wasn't interested in you whatsoever. I had no idea of how to relate to a woman as a friend. So we practiced that, and it was pretty cool. And within a few months, you know, we got those warm, fuzzy feelings, and we started dating and all that. And a couple years later, we got married, and she was in the Navy. We went to Bermuda for 2 years, caught some great meetings there. It was fucking awesome. Went back to Virginia. We're there for a couple of years. And it was interesting because I was probably 4 or 5 years sober at that point, and a lot of the folks had, like, they weren't there anymore. I was like, what the fuck is going on? A lot of turnover. It's a Navy town, you know, Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I was at one of those sort of clubhouse places where, you know, a lot of turnover anyway. So, but I felt a little disconnected, you know. But at that time, I had a kid, and then another kid, and then we went to England for 3 years, and then we came back, and by that time I was like, I got 2 kids now, and you know, I'm not going to drink. Oh yeah, in England I became a born again Christian. There was a dude who explained it to me in a way that a Jew could understand, and he said, you know, Leviticus, it's about the blood, it's about the sacrifices. They did doves and mules and all that kind of bullshit and all that, and then like it wasn't good enough, so God said, you know, you guys keep sinning, so fuck, I'll do it, you know. And he gave his son and all that, and I was like, okay, so it still doesn't make sense to me, but explained like that, let me do this. Let me suspend my disbelief and I'll try this on. It's like a fucking suit I tried on. What I did was Pascal's wager, which is, you know, if I go down this route and it's wrong, no harm. But if I do and they're all correct, then I've avoided the flames, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Anyway, I would counsel folks against Pascal's wager. Well, I can't counsel anybody on anything having to do with that. It's all good. But for me, what I realized is that in order to do that, I had to really be different, and I had to do a whole lot of stuff. And I had to try. It depends on what denomination you're in, but I trashed a bunch of the great music that I listened to because it might have been about different things and stuff like that. And you know, I changed in a way that I look back on it now and I'm like, I mean, I don't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. Trust me, I don't. But I'm like, you know, it is what it is, but it would have been interesting if I had taken a different path. That's all. Anyway, some of that stuff can be harmful. And I harmed others with my religious rigidity. And I was in that camp for about 15 years. You know, until, here's the thing, because comparative religious studies, that's what I did, you know. If you study religion with an open mind, this is my opinion, you must become an atheist. That's really the only conclusion. If you do it with confirmation bias or from an apologetics point of view, you will become a good fill in the blank on whatever religion, you know, you're talking about. So either way works. And I have aside from those that use it to abuse, I have no problem with religions, and I love to see where religious people can can be right. It's like AA, right? The religions in and of themselves are not bad. You know, AA is not bad. It's the people in it that might fuck it up. There you go, right? So anyway, why am I going into all that stuff? I guess to say that, you know, now I'm an agnostic atheist or an apatheist. So I'm gonna take a few minutes and talk about the next few years. Like I said, in going back to Virginia, I didn't connect with folks in AA, and I kind of didn't need to go. And I spent about 10 years, maybe hitting half a dozen meetings during that whole time. And I wasn't going to drink. And I was doing volunteer work for the Scouts and the church. And in the Scouts, I was the chaplain. And we had, you know, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim kids. And I really enjoyed the hell out of it because I was still into the comparative stuff. At the same time, I was still, the whole time, really suspending my disbelief. But, you know, also all in, you know, kind of juggling that. Like when you watch a movie and you suspend disbelief, but you really get into it, but you're suspending disbelief at the same time. So at about 20 years sober, I have a son named Zach and a daughter, Rachel. Rachel was 15 when she started displaying some, I don't know if it was sort of teen angst or what, but it ended up being mental illness. She ended up being at least generalized anxiety disorder, probably bipolar, maybe even schizophrenic. It ran in my wife's family, and I have no idea about my family because I'm adopted. But anyway, my daughter Rachel took her own life at the age of 15, and I was 20-some years sober here in Atlanta. Didn't have to drink. I knew that would only make it worse. I kind of had to be here for my family. And at the time, I was still religious, you know. The church family came right in, do all the stuff with the meals and all that kind of thing. That community, fantastic. I was disconnected from my AA, you know, brethren and sistren. But I have no doubt that if I was connected, they would have done the same thing. It's a fucking community. You know, that's the essential thing. And so it was good. Yeah, I didn't blame God. But because shit happens, you know. But I knew that there was support groups for that. And so I went to support groups like Survivors of Suicide and the Compassionate Friends for folks who have lost a kid, and there was some people who lost a kid like a year later, and me and my wife Julie went to the funeral of the kid because they knew that kid knew Rachel, and we went there, and we didn't know these people from Adam. But after the funeral, I remember talking to the father, and Julie talked to the mom, and we're like, yeah, our daughter Rachel died, and like the relief in their eyes when they see someone who understands and doesn't say I'm sorry for your loss. That is the kinship of common suffering. That is why this fucking program works, or any similar peer support. That's the magic. If there's anything that's magic, it's that. So what I realized was that I needed to be around alcoholics. That's kind of what I learned from that. And within a few years, I was deconverting from Christianity, and just by the time I got divorced a few years later, that was about 3 or 4 years ago. Even before that, actually, I was sort of like, you know what? Everything I know about life, or everything I think I know, shit keeps moving. The goalposts keep moving, and the floor keeps moving. Or like what I like to say is, I got fucking bitch slapped by life time and time again, and so I decided to just strip it all fucking down. I said, look, I don't know shit. How about if I just start from scratch? I'm going to make no assumptions whatsoever. And I started doing that, living my life with no fucking assumptions, no expectations, and no fucking clue. And if I needed help, I would ask for it. And I haven't had to change that. It's fucking genius. It's fucking blissful. Because that means I don't have to be right. I don't have to know a bunch of shit. I don't cling. I can be open to this stuff, right? There's this 3 shits philosophy that I like to put out there. That I don't know shit, and I don't have to know shit. That's the corollary to that. I don't believe shit, and I don't give a shit. And so now I realize that not everybody can do that. And I have the luxury of doing that because my kids are either grown or dead, and I'm now divorced. I don't have anybody to please. So it's a unique opportunity. But still, at the same time, it's something that has enabled me to just relate to individuals in an autonomous and authentic way. So I only hang out with people who accept me as I am, and I don't do toxicity. I don't do drama at all, and I let people be whoever the fuck they are. And if it's uncomfortable for me, I get the fuck out. Yeah, basic. And that includes parents. That includes whoever. These societal things about, you're supposed to be this and you're bonded to this, and well, it's your mom, so you might as well, it's your dad. I mean, I cling loosely to that, I don't have those are not obligations that I honor. And I don't feel bad about that, because like I said, I stripped it down to nothing. So now every societal rule and moray, I'm actually taking a look at it and saying, is this helpful to me? Is this, before it was like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I care about people? I thought that I had to, and the program says you do, right? Because you're fucking broken, right? And I don't subscribe to that anymore. It worked for a while, that this thing about the ego having to be broken, for, pasty white dudes and stockbrokers, fucking absolutely, yeah, But there's a whole host of folks, especially now in a much more diverse world, that, they don't need ego deflation. They need to be built up, right? There's a great book, just came out recently by one of us free thinkers called We're Not All Egomaniacs by Beth H. I suggest everybody check out AA Agnostica, because there's a shit ton of books about all kinds of things in the agnostic world and how to interpret this program in different ways. So I'm going to get into that bit now. How I interpret the program, how I work the steps now. But before that, I'll just go into the divorce thing, which I think is a huge thing, because there's a loss there. I mean, the loss that I felt by losing Rachel was huge, obviously, and it takes years to get through that. And it's never the same. Life's never the same. But I have the ability to help others. I have the ability now to help my parents, because last month my sister died of cancer. And so my parents in their mid and late 80s have lost a child, and I can help them too. Again, kinship of common suffering. So with the divorce, there's a loss. The loss of the family life, the dreams, expectations, and all that kind of thing. But it was good. And we were friends with benefits for a while, But then she started dating, and now she's found a fella, and she actually has a new life, so to speak. And moving through that of like, wow, I really do have to close the door on that now. It's not like leaving it open and sneak in the back door, with the program, I can do that with the tools that I've picked up. So I wish her the best. What I know is this: she has needs, and she's expressing to me. She had a fucking list last year. This is what I would like, and these are non-negotiables in a partner. And I'm like, a couple of those things I could do, but no, And she has the right to get her needs met in whatever way, And so now she's doing it. More power to her, because all I want to do is put her in my pocket and take her out every now and again, and say, oh yeah, that's right, and that is not fair. That's bullshit, That would be, no. So she deserves better. Not better than me, because I am fucking excellent, but I'm not for everybody, okay? Relationships, not good. Commitment and all that kind of thing. I mean, I was faithful and I was committed. I was like, yeah, we're good. That's it. But it's that ongoing nurturing stuff. Not good at it, A lot of people do it, and that's what you need to do in an ongoing committed relationship. But I'm sort of like, if it's not broke, don't fix. What? I said I do. Well, what else is there? We just, It's different for different people. So I'm not the Marian kind. That's what I realize now. And but because of the program, I've been able to look. I have the ability to look at this any fucking way I choose. I could look at it and say, "Woe is me," and this and that, and all that kind of thing. But I'm like, no, why? Why would I? It doesn't make sense. It's only going to fuck everything up. So that's not, But so the steps. How do I work the steps? Step 1, 2, and 3 for me is like a package, kind of like, I can't do this thing, but I think it can be done, and I think I'm gonna need help, so I will ask for help and then get into it. Just that simple. I don't have a higher power. For a while, I tried to work around that thing of like, well, different ways of looking at God, great outdoors and all that kind of thing. I was doing that, At first, I thought when I deconverted, I thought, holy shit, am I going to get drunk? Because that's what, it doesn't say it, but it sort of says it, right? But I knew there was atheist and agnostic meetings, and so I've been going to those for several years. But I tried to still fit it into the language, and the language kind of bothered me. And so, but I don't believe that there's any reason or purpose or thing that holds it all together, or anyone's will that I have to seek, or anything of the sort. Shit just is. The laws of physics work. and they work one way here and they work in other ways in different places, right? I mean, who fucking knows? Not me. Is it waves, light, or particles? I don't fucking know. But so I try and go by what I know, so I thought for a while I was like, oh, there's like the higher power. I heard someone talk about a wider power, and I thought that was pretty cool. I like that, and if that works for you, fantastic. But then I thought, well, it doesn't have to be static. Like there's a higher power that I lean on. It could be that like it's dynamic, and I always use the phrase of like, if my pipes are broken, I call a plumber. The plumber is a higher power in that moment, and I just need to. And then I thought, well, that's the same fucking thing as asking for help. Why am I trying to fit 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound sack? Why am I trying to do this with the higher power thing? Let me look at this. This is Christian gobbledygook. I reject the whole fucking notion. I reject the notion. I don't mean it's just Christian. It's Western. It's just, I reject it. It has no meaning or purpose for me. And purpose, there was a meeting earlier, and this was one of the things. I don't believe that there's any meaning of life. There's nothing for me to seek in terms of what my purpose is or anything like that. It is about creating it. There's a Dylan quote. I think it was from the movie. It was when they in the mid '70s they did a tour, Rolling Thunder, and this movie about it, where he says life isn't about finding yourself or finding anything for that matter. It's about creating yourself. And I'm like, yes, that is it. That's what it means to me. Because I thought the whole thing was about where I have to go to what I seek. I seek his will. It's this, it's outside of me, da-da-da-da. And, nothing against all that if that's what works for you. And that's what worked for me. That's what I needed to do initially, but it stopped working for me. That stopped working for me. I had to do it differently. And so now I have to be empowered because, people talk about the ego. Oh, the ego's here to kill me. The ego's not my amigo. Oh, my ego and my disease is against me. It wants to kill me. For me, that's a bunch of bullshit. It's all this. I used to make shitty decisions. Now I make better decisions. Why do I make better decisions? Because I learned fucking how. And I'm different now. And the different person might not drink again, but the same person might. And I think that that's one of the keys to why this program can work. Or a lot of other programs, Smart Recovery or LifeRing or whatever the fuck you want to do, man. All good. DBT and therapy and all this stuff. I got a bunch of tools in the tool bag, I love the fellowship of AA. And I also love the traditions. The traditions of AA is something that none of the others have, and I think is fucking special. So, step 4, taking an inventory, writing down shit, and I love the way it's done in the big book about how this affected, me and all that kind of a thing, and where I might have contributed to it and all that. I think that's a valid way of doing it. I think there's other ways of doing it too, absolutely. And I think that it's great to do it in a bunch of different ways over the years. I've had sponsors in the past that have had me do a time inventory. How do I spend my time? Or a money inventory. How do I spend my money? And I think those can be valuable too. It's all CBT and DBT type stuff, 5, sharing. Yeah, I think it's great, I think it's there's something about it that connects us, and connection is huge. I hear people say connection is the opposite of addiction. I'm like, oh, put it on a t-shirt. I know it's the name of that book, and I've got it even. I haven't read it yet. But I'm like, I avoid that kind of stuff. It's like, it's the opposite of. I mean, how about just like connection, can help you deal with addiction? Okay, I'll go for that. I'm not a fanboy. But 6 and 7, what the fuck? I'm continuing to change. I'm going to keep doing this stuff. It seems to be working. I'll keep doing it. As far as asking for my character defects to be taken away, Jesus, character defects. That sounds a little, fundamental. How about ways I used to do shit that are not helpful. How about that? You know, I don't know about these 7 sins. It's a bunch of bullshit to me. All I know is there's things that are helpful to me and others, and there's things that are not. Okay. And a lot of the things that I used to do are coping mechanisms that I learned that are actually pretty good and come in handy when shit hits the fan, like maybe in a zombie apocalypse. I keep them upstairs in the attic. I didn't get rid of them. I might need them from time to time. If I meet someone that's toxic, I might need some shit to deal with that kind of thing. That's cool, but I don't need them for everyday use. They're not helpful. 8 and 9, you know, making amends. Fuck yeah, that's a very good idea. You know, unless it would harm, like Jeffrey Munn says, not others, but me too. Not just others, but me too. Yeah. And 10, 11, 12, these maintenance steps. Yeah, good stuff. Telling our story is step 12. Fantastic. You know, I need to do that. Service work, absolutely. People do it all the time. I've done it a lot. And I go through phases where I need to do it and then I sort of don't need to do it. I don't guilt myself if I'm not doing it. I think I should and all that kind of thing. That's a bunch of bullshit. There's so many fucking tools in the toolbox, man. I use whatever I need to do at the time. Sometimes I need to lay back. Sometimes I need to lay back so others can do it, right? Step 11, I'm going to finish on this. Step 11 is the most important one to me right now. So what does it mean? Sought through prayer and meditation to increase our conscious contact with God. Praying only for His will for us and the power to carry that out. Fuck no, that does not mean that to me today. It has meant that in the past, and I've done it, and it was fucking awesome, and it was beautiful. But it doesn't work for me now. So what does it mean? What does it mean? It means connection. It means conscious contact. So I meditate a lot. Huge fan. Meditation is one of the cornerstones of what I do now. The most important thing I do now is meditate and share my story or help others or hang out with alkies. But I do Zazen, you know, I sit, you know. I have all the fucking apps and there's several of them that I like, you know, each one sort of hits a thing. Sam Harris's app is great. A lot of good theory there. I like the Calm one. That's very nice. Insight Timer is pretty good too. But I do a lot of meditation, quiet, let the thoughts go by. The Kevin Griffin books about the Buddhism stuff, fucking great. That's great shit. All the different ways. You know, I'm a fan of whatever works, as Jeffrey Munn says. You know, I definitely agree with that. So I need to have conscious contact through meditation and prayer. You know, I've heard people call it setting an intention. Okay, that works for me. What I do is I just fucking talk to myself. I pace around and I just fucking talk to myself and sort shit out. I think the same thing is done. I think, you know, when I've prayed in the past, you know, I think prayer works. And the reason why I think it works is not because you get whatever it is, but I think it changes the person. That's how it works. And so I do the same thing by just talking and working shit out. And sometimes with others too, right? But a conscious contact with myself, and that's with the meditation, the universe as it is. And that's partly acceptance, and the serenity prayer is huge for that, for the serenity concept, you know, that thing, right? Accepting the things I cannot change. And acceptance, I've heard people say, and I agree, it doesn't mean, acknowledgement, right? Let's put it that way. This is what it is. What can I do about it? Can I do this? Sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes there is, but I need to wait, etc. Do I wait on God's word for that? Or no. Just whenever the fuck it makes sense to me, you know? I talk to people. I definitely do. So conscious contact with myself, with the universe as it is, the reality as it presents itself, and other people. I have to have connection with other people. I have to have intimate conversations with people on an almost daily basis, at least every few days. But I am not interested in your kids' names. I'm not going to send Christmas cards or anything like that. These are all trivial details I do not give a fuck about. I'm sorry. It's just a pain in the ass to keep up with that shit. But I want to touch something, and I like to be touched some way. I have no fucking clue what that is or what it means, but there's a connection. It's the human condition. It's the humanity of where we just share where we're at and all that kind of thing. Compassion. You know, this is fucking, you know, cultivating compassion. That's what I like to do. It keeps the juices flowing for me. So I see we're at I've exhausted a fucking hour, man. And I was going to leave at least 10 minutes or 15 maybe for accolades and stuff like that, because, you know, we all love that. But okay, maybe the meeting after the meeting. So that's it. Mike, alcoholic, thank you for hanging around. And I needed this because the most important person in the room, well, we all are in our own way. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. That was awesome. I really, really enjoyed that. So thank you. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up real quick, and then we can get into the after meeting and hang out for a little while. And if you got questions for Mike, I'm sure. Are you going to hang around for a little while, Mike? You going to hang around for a little while? Yeah. All right, cool. Okay. Our third tradition states that the only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. One of the coolest rewards of AA membership is the ability to join a home group in which we can begin building a family of our choosing. If anyone is interested in joining this home group, please get with our secretary, Amanda, or one of the hosts after the meeting. Once again, if you'd like to donate to the Seventh Tradition Basket, please go to homegroup.online/AANP. And yeah, so on that, we're going to read a Declaration of Unity. You should all be able to unmute now. There's that, and boom. All right, the Declaration of Unity. This we owe to AA's future. Place our common welfare first, to keep our fellowship united. AA unity
on our lives, lives of those to come.
Rachel.
Responsibility statement. Who is responsible?
I am responsible.
Anyone
And anyone who cares to help me, I want the hand of
I
for that I am responsible.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much, Ricky. That was awesome. I loved it every time, but that one was the best so far. Thank you. And everyone.
Thank you, Mike.
Rachel.
Great to see you.
Yeah, you didn't screw up this time. You didn't screw up this time, Mike. That was great.
It just is, okay?